Okay, so today we're going to talk about water fountains and how I built mine, and hopefully it'll give maybe some of you some good ideas. So the first thing we got to talk about is location and electricity. We built this flower bed last year in the fall. There's the fountain, and we wired it for electricity. Now what we needed was a constant power in addition to a switch. So when we built the shed, we ran power from the house all the way out to the shed. And then what we did was we brought power from the shed down the ramp across the yard and up into the flower bed. And I'll show you where that comes. So the flower bed is wired. You can see that there's an indoor-outdoor switch here, along with an all-weather outlet, as well as a junction box. So the wire comes from the shed into this junction box, up to it branches off in the box, comes up to the switch, and to this outlet. So that outlet is switched. Now what we can do is, we can go over here, and I'll show you. Here's another outlet. This one is constant power, but it's switched with the lights, and I'll explain why in a minute. These lights on the outside of the garage run off of a switch inside the house. When you flip that switch, the lamp posts, of which there are 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down there at the end, all the lights on the driveway come on as well. Now there are lights down inside the fountain, and they come on also when you flip that switch in the house. So now we have all the power that we need, and like I said, that was done long before the fountain was put in. So once we were ready for the fountain, what we did was we dug a big hole, and this is about 3 feet by 4 feet, and it's maybe 2.5 feet deep. So we dug a big hole, and then we built a retaining wall out of these 30-year landscape ties. Pinned it with Tek-Lok screws and rebar. There was no bottom, so we put a bag of play sand on the bottom, tamped it down, leveled it off, put a piece of plywood down, then put a rubber roofing membrane in the hole, and then capped it off with this 5/4 decking. The reason we put the plywood in there is because we've got a couple of pavers. We've got stacked up pavers in there. I don't know whether you can see those, but this bottom rock here is actually sitting on 2 pavers over here and 2 pavers over here. We didn't want that weight to push down and either rupture or otherwise compromise the rubber roofing. Now, onto the rocks. The reason we did this is because, frankly, we're too cheap to buy a cast concrete fountain. We priced them out, and they were probably $1,000 a piece, the one that we wanted. So I figured, hey, why don't I police up some rocks, and we'll drill holes in them and route the water right up through the rocks. It's a great idea in theory. We gathered up these rocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rocks. There were 7, but I broke one. And we went to Lowe's and bought a battery-powered hammer drill. So we drilled the top rocks that you see here, the top 4, which took maybe 2 months. You know, not constant, but every evening after supper coming out and, hammering on these rocks with the hammer drill. So we were intimidated by these big ones at the bottom. So we took them to the local monument guy and paid him $20, and it took him maybe all of 10 seconds to drill through each one. It was a little irritating, actually. But what happens is, now the pump is underneath that biggest rock, and it's attached to a copper tube with some 3/4 inch flexible tubing, and you can see that this top rock, there's the copper coming right up through. That should weather nicely. So the cool thing about that is that you can spin these rocks and make the water fall however you want to. So once it's all finished, the rocks are drilled, we stack them up, put the pump under there, and then when you switch it on, I'll show you what it looks like. Kind of cool, right? So now I have our own water feature. And like I said, what's neat about this is that A, it cost me 20 bucks for a guy plus a hammer drill. You can spin all these rocks around and kind of change the way the water flows. So all told, we spent 150 bucks on a Porter Cable 19-volt hammer drill. We spent $20 on, giving the guy some money to drill the holes for us. And we spent maybe, this is all scrap lumber in here, so we spent maybe 50 bucks. So for $200, that's a far cry from the $1,000 that it was going to cost us. So you can probably hear that. It's a pleasing sound, and it worked out pretty good. So hopefully you enjoy it and have some success building your own.